Good morning, you guys. My name is Denise Walsh, and I am so excited to connect with you this morning about probably one of the most important topics in your business. Ladies, you agree? Yes. Oh my goodness. Today we're going to spend a few minutes with you sharing about how we have used self-development to bust through our own personal glass ceilings, and how doing that again and again and teaching this to your team will help you grow your business. Because the reality is you never out-earn your mindset. Meaning, in order to grow your income, you have to grow your mind. So for those who don't know me, my name is Denise Walsh. I've been a part of this journey for 13 years, a bit over 13 years, which is crazy. Prior to this, I was a clinical psychologist with no sales or business experience. And I can tell you this business has changed my life and my family for generations. So why don't we jump right in with Val? I'd love for you to share a bit of your story. And my first question to you is, how have you used personal development to grow your mindset?
Oh goodness. Hi guys, I'm Valerie Reynolds. I'm a presidential diamond and my 5-year anniversary is this month. I am a former head volleyball coach and a chemistry teacher. So just like Denise, I had no sales experience. I basically had every excuse in the book to where this business would not work for me. I had never tried the products before. I didn't think that I had the time. I was working 60 plus hours a week. Plus, I'm married to a high school football coach, and I'm here in Texas. And so if you guys know anything about Texas football, it's king, and they work 7 days a week. And our son was 3 at the time. And so I knew deep down something changed, something shifted. I wasn't meant to coach anymore, but I needed the income. And so I had watched a friend for a couple of months, and she was making extra money working from her phone and staying home and raising her 2 boys. And I kind of I didn't unfriend her, but I did unfollow her for a little bit because I was that one that was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm kind of annoyed by that. And I totally changed my tune when I needed something else. And so I reached out to her and talked to her on the phone, signed up the very next day without knowing anything. I just knew about the wraps. I didn't know that we had all these other products until after I signed up, which is totally against my personality. So I signed up, and I am very red. I have a type A personality. So inside I'm very motivated. So I don't like to fail at anything. And so I tried very hard. I was the newbie that wanted to post. I was messaging whatever my sponsor told me to do. I did, and I did, and I did, and nothing happened. And for 17 days, I questioned myself. I was so worried about what other people were going to think of me. I thought the products were too expensive. I still was doing the action steps, but deep down in my soul, I didn't believe that anybody was going to sign up. And so I continued to doubt myself. And 17 days in, after planting all of these seeds, I finally got a yes. And once I got that yes, it was like my mind switched over and said, oh, people do want this. People can afford this. People do want to get healthy. And then it went from 1 customer to 4. And then from 4, I think I signed 15 to 20 that month. And I ended up going Ruby in 2 months. And then my mind was totally different. I ended up going double diamond in 7 months. So it was very, very fast. I promoted very quickly. But the first mind shift that I had was my first 17 days, because I went from not believing. I believed in myself because I'm a hard worker, but I didn't believe in the opportunity until I finally signed up that first customer. And once I believed, I took off. 2 months or 7 months in, I was a double diamond. And then I hit my second sort of mental roadblock that we will probably talk about a little bit later.
Yeah. Because I love your story. I think belief is a huge part of why we grow and why we choose to do personal development. Because the reality is it's always easier to be negative. You know, it's always easier to think I can't do it. We all often have these scripts in our minds, these stories in our minds about how we're not good enough and we're not sure. And, you know, and so we have to combat that. And personal development is one way to grow that belief. And for you, you were able to grow your belief in the opportunity. And once your belief in the opportunity came into fruition, it was like, game on. What are some books or podcasts or things that you recommend your new distributors to listen to as they're growing, and not only belief of the opportunity, belief in themselves, belief in their products? I mean, we all start with no knowledge, right? So what do you recommend to them?
Oh, well, I recommend Pam's podcast because I love that she blends mindset along with business tips. I also recommend the Ed Milet podcast. That one is very much hardcore mindset, just pushing yourself, lots of motivation. And he's kind of like a kick you in the tail type of guy, but I love how he speaks. He's very highly motivated and it rubs off on you. Another one that I highly recommend to my newbies is called the Big Life Devotional Podcast. So that one's actually a weekly devotional to help grow their spirit and their faith, because that's just something that's very important to me. I teach my team to be very kingdom focused and kingdom mindset. We practice Sabbath, and we totally understand that God's hands are on top of our business. And so we have to make sure that we not only have faith in ourselves and its mindset for ourselves, but we also need to make sure that we understand that it all comes from him and that we have to have that strong faith. We can't just have faith in our work. We have to have faith that he's going to take care of us too. And so I always make sure that if they're a believer, that they make sure that they water those seeds and water their own soul with his truth and his work. So those are kind of my top three. Some books, I love listening to Audible books. I don't really read them because I have two little ones. And so I don't have time to really sit and like relax and read. I'm more of a multitasker. And so Audible, the app Audible, is awesome. And Stephen Furtick is one of my favorite authors. And so Sun Stand Still was a game changer for my money mindset when I was going from double to triple, because it took me 2 years to go from double to triple. And it all had to do with my money mindset and the cap that I had on myself and the belief and why do I need more? The money guilt, am I feeling greedy for wanting more? And so Sun Stand Still was a huge game changer for me. Some of his other books too are also like Crash the Chatterbox. Those are some of my favorite ones as well. So those are just kind of some off the top of my head.
I love that. And those are all about taking your thoughts captive, of not allowing that stinking thinking monkey mind to take over, but to decide what it is you truly want and then put your thoughts on that. So we're going to get back to your second breakthrough in just a minute. Brielle, I want to hear from you. Tell us a bit about your story and how you used personal development to break through your own personal glass ceiling.
Hey guys, my name is Brielle. I'm so excited to be here. Those of you that watched the messaging Back to Basics training a couple days ago, I was on that as well. So you got to know like all of my tips and tricks on that. But honestly, like the most important part of this business that a lot of people leave out is self-development. So I am so excited to talk about this because it's like the KPI that we kind of on our busier days sometimes forget about. And it really is, it's the meat to it all. It's what you need to become successful in this business. So when I started, I honestly was definitely a non-believer in it. Although I definitely needed it. I was very shy. I was super busy in school. So I had like all these different excuses in my mind. But when I joined, I had zero intention to do this, for the long haul. 3 years later, here I am now, a presidential diamond. But it just so happened that I fell in love with this business. I'm wearing my Keep Doing What You Love shirt because that's how I feel about this business. I remember being in school, not knowing what I was going to do with my life. I apologize if I just froze up for a second. I was very just unsure where I was going to go next. And then I got a message about this business, and this literally fit right into my life because like Denise, actually, I was a psychology major, so I really loved helping people. And I just didn't know what the platform was going to be able to do that. And then I was also a group fitness instructor. So I was always into health and wellness. And so this job ended up being exactly what I love to get up and do every single day. And also, I've grown as a person so much because of the self-development and the growth that I made in the process, all the way up to Presidential Diamond, when I was definitely a non-believer in it in the first place. So that's really my story. What was the other question you had asked to it then? Sorry.
Share with me one of your first funks and how you use personal development to bust through it.
Okay, so I was one of those people that I remember plugging in a lot of people into the system, but I didn't have a lot of people working when I first started. I got all the way up to Emerald, and then I remember my entire team just had quit. And I was pretty much on my own. I got myself boxed in for Diamond, but no one was really running with me. And I remember messaging my upline and thinking to myself, like, well, I could quit now because no one else is working with me, or I could keep going and yeah, just go for it. Just keep enrolling and eventually I'll find my people. And yes, I was plugging people into the system and not everyone was staying. But in the process, I did a lot of self-development to learn how to become a better leader. So I would be able to rise these people up to get to Diamond and get to that next level and just grow it as myself too, and be able to continue to know that if I plugged enough people into the system and kept enrolling and didn't give up on the people that I was putting into the computer, then I was eventually going to hit my goal and go Diamond, which I did that summer. It just took a little bit of self-development and growth in the process. And even though I kind of didn't realize how badly I needed it, that was just what I needed to break through and get to that next level.
So what books or podcasts did you specifically listen to that turned it for you?
My favorite, I love Grant Cardone. So my favorite was the 10 times rule. I remember listening to that, and he talked a lot about discipline and, having struggles along the way, but knowing that, if you stayed disciplined and stayed consistent, eventually you were going to get to your goal. But it's not easy. Like, hard things are not supposed to be easy. There's a reason why people don't get to presidential in their first 10 days in the business, unless you're like some kind of superhuman. I don't know. But it took growth in the process. And that's why. So Grant Cardone was one of my favorites. As of late, I really love Trent Shelton as well. He talks a lot about how, like, sometimes you have your struggles along the way, and how, you put yourself in a certain mindset and you can get yourself out of it. Like the word stuck, like you put yourself there. You can take yourself out too. Like I try not to, whenever someone drops the word stuck, I'm like, oh no, like that shouldn't even be in your vocabulary, because what he talks about in a lot of his podcasts and things is that, dropping that word keeps you there longer. So you're putting yourself in that place and you just have to decide to take yourself out. But the more you linger there, the more you're going to just stay there even longer.
Well, and the reality is, right, we become what we become what we think about, we become what we talk about. And so we're going to switch to specific money mindset. But before we do, I want to share the income disclosure, because we know that everybody's different. Everybody's journey is different. And so you can't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. And we want to just remind everybody that your journey is your journey, and everybody's income is all around the board based on who they were when they got started, who their community was when they got started, and who they bring in. We do have a question that I'm going to answer before I throw it back to you guys. It says, how can I work to switch my mindset from being positive or negative to positive because I'm feeling a bit discouraged? And this is really probably the most common coaching call I do is, I don't know what to do. It's not working. I'm not sure, that kind of self-doubt that comes into our space when we don't see immediate results. And I'll share with you a few things that I do with my team. And then I want to ask you guys how you grow within your money mindset as well. But the first thing that I recommend everybody to do is to figure out why you're here. I mean, really, why are you here? Why are you here? It's always easier to shrink back to what's comfortable, even if you don't like it, because you at least understand it. And so doing new things, right? Starting a business, being open about products, doing a live with your coffee, all of that's just new, and it's going to feel uncomfortable at first. And so in order to move through that uncomfortability, we've got to know why we're here. We have to have a clear picture of what this business is going to do for us and our family. So is it going to Disney World? Is it cash for Christmas? Is it a weekend away? What is it for you that really is pulling you through the hard stuff? And we keep our eyes focused on that. So when we say you become what you think about, we need to think about who and what we want to become, so then we can keep our eyes and thoughts focused on that. So we all have discouraging days, right? We know that life's happening, that drama is happening sometimes around us, that, it's not always roses. But the way that we move through it is to just know that part of a journey, not hold on to it too tightly, and focus on what we want. So the clarity of what it is you want is step one. Step two is really all about growing your belief to match what you want, to really believe that it can happen for you. And that's where personal development comes in. So Val, I know you hit a lid. You hit double diamond, you hit a lid, and you had to bust through it so you could promote again. So tell us your story about that.
Yeah. So like I said, I went double diamond in 7 months, and that average income of a double diamond was well above what I was making as a teacher. And so I grew up middle class, and my husband grew up middle class, but he had, 3 other brothers too. So money was a little tight. Money, while we didn't have a lot of extra, I didn't hurt for anything. But I remember my mom telling me one time that the reason she would buy me, this is going to sound silly, but I know moms are going to feel this. When she would go to school, when they would go school supply shopping, her parents could only buy her the 8-count Crayola. And she always wanted the big 48 count with the plastic sharpener in the back. And so she told me that whenever I was growing up, she would always buy me the big one because they worked hard enough to break their own glass ceiling, because she was low socioeconomic. That's how she grew up. And so my parents worked hard to put me and my brother in a place where we didn't have to want as much as they did. And so my parents kind of did some of the work because we ended up, my husband and I were one of the first ones to own a home. We owned a home very young. We had, nice cars. We had careers. We went first generation college students. So my parents kind of did a little bit, but I was stuck at my income, my salary as a teacher. So whenever I hit double diamonds, I struggled with, why do I need more? I felt very greedy for wanting more. I knew my next answer was VIP. I knew my next goal was supposed to be triple diamond, but I really struggled with, why do I need that kind of money? We're comfortable. And the thing is I was stuck in my comfort zone, and I couldn't seem to break it until I went to a retreat with some other ambassadors and presidentials. And we're all kind of going around, and they were asking, why are you here? What do you want out of this weekend? I was a double diamond sitting with all these people, totally just girl fanning over some of these people. And I said, I don't feel like I belong here. And they all looked at me and they said, I thought you were just like us. I did not like you. We thought you were a presidential. We thought you were an ambassador. And that was the first little light bulb for me, that these people, if you have been in this business, I don't care if you've been in this business for 5, 6, 7 years and you say you're just a Ruby, it doesn't matter. The people that are at the top are just like you. They just work a little bit harder and have done it more times than you have. And that was kind of a key for me to be able to tell myself, I can do this. And so then I started digging deep. I have a strong faith. I love God with all my heart. I'm very kingdom focused. And so I had to look at scripture to figure out, what does he say? What does he say about wanting more? And while, yes, he used people who maybe were prostitutes or people that were sick and people that were poverty stricken, and he used them to further his kingdom, he also used people and blessed them and showed them favor. I think of David, who went from a shepherd boy, David and Goliath went from a shepherd boy to a king. I think of Lydia, that when they found Lydia in Philippi, she was a rich woman, and they would not have been able to start the church if she hadn't have had money. I think of Joseph, how he was sold by his brothers to slaves, and then he ended up being a right-hand man to the king and was blessed very favorably. There are still people in the Bible who can grow the kingdom with high favor. And so while you can be in a place where you can be thankful for where you are, that doesn't mean that you cap God into this tiny little bubble saying he can't do more for you, because money is not bad. It can be if it's in the hands of the wrong person, but if you have your eyes focused on what you should be focused on, like Denise was saying, the goals, the dreams, but being a good steward of that money, then God is a God of impossible dreams. He can do things for you if you are in the right mindset. And I just was not in the mindset to be able to expand and think, why do I need more, until I realized I can be content with where I am. And if I never push past this, I'm content. But content doesn't mean I need to be stuck right here either. I can still work harder and give God more to work with. And if it's his will to bless me and favor me, then I am all for it. And I'm going to run whenever he runs with me.
Absolutely. I love that. Who are we to put God in a box? And the reality is that money is a fruit of who you are, not money in itself has no inherent moral value. It really, if it's in the hands of a great person, money will do great things. I have a favorite quote that I've said, which is, I can be content and ambitious. I can love where I am and live in fervent gratitude and love where I'm going, knowing that God's not done with me yet. And when you can balance and marry those two ideas, contentment and vision, like game on, you've already won, because you are living in this space of accepting and loving all the things God already has given you, but yet you're open to receive and to do more. So Brielle, I know you got into a place where you were like, I feel stuck. I'm not promoting. How did you get through some of that, and how do you coach your team?
Yeah, for sure. I think everyone kind of has that moment where they maybe just hit your rank and then you're like, okay, what's next? So I think it's kind of important to tap into like where you are in your business when you're trying to figure out what is the best self-development for you, because if you're brand new, maybe go for no is a good option for you. But like if you've been in your business and maybe like from double to triple, I remember I had like hit a certain income goal that I was going for. And then I was like, okay, so like now I'm here, like what's next? This is actually, I have it right next to me, a really good book that I had read last summer, Think Like a Billionaire. And I love this one because it really helped improve my money mindset between different ranks. And then, from there, just kind of figuring out maybe even like maybe it's your why that needs to be a little bit stronger in between. And then there's different books that can help you, dream bigger and look for, what's going to get you to that next level. Another really good one that I loved as well, actually, it's from Trent Shelton too, is The Greatest You. This is another one of my favorite books that I have as well. And I'm reading it again this summer on the beach, actually. So Trent Shelton is honestly my favorite of any person ever that I've ever listened to any sort of self-development podcast or books. His podcasts are amazing. Just like listening to his voice pumps me up, honestly. And what I do with my team a lot is when we have different Zooms, we'll do power hours and we'll sit and we'll listen to one of his podcasts. So that way we're getting our work done, but we're also listening to our self-development together. Another thing that I love to do, and especially like when we were all going for huge promotions, because when I promoted to presidential, obviously I had a lot of team promote with me. And so every day I was sending them like short little podcasts to listen to. Even Jade Hooper, I love her podcast too. And they're short and sweet little things that you can listen to in like 10 minutes. And I would send them a podcast to listen to first thing in the morning. And we would listen to, I would say, okay, like let's listen to this while you make your coffee, and give them even like a time where they could listen to it in their car or wherever. So that way they knew like you can fit this into your day. It really is so simple to fit self-development into your day. And that's one way I like to implement it with my team as well. And just giving them easy ways to tap into their self-development, because it's so, so important. And I mean, I think of myself as a mass enroller. I like to say that about myself because I typically do enroll like 50 plus loyal customers every single month, and at least 10 distributors usually. And when you think of yourself that way, like you're going to just become that thing. And self-development creates that for sure. And telling your team like, okay, like we're going to sign 10 customers today, like let's do it. And it hypes them up. Like if they're pumped and they see you booming in the chat and everything and putting in all these enrollments and your excitement, then they're going to be pumped up too. And that's what makes this business fun, is that when you're doing your self-development and when you're staying consistent as a leader, listening to it and enrolling at the same time, then your team's just going to duplicate that same system.
Absolutely. Energy is contagious. And so when you're bringing that energy to team Zooms or team chats or the connection times with your team, that's going to domino effect and impact them as well. And the cool thing is that we're helping people add personal development to their schedule, because a lot of people just aren't. As you said, it's probably one of the most important things, but the most forgotten part of the business is to keep your mind right, to keep your mind in the game, to grow your belief in this process, because it will always be easier to shrink back to what you know and understand, even if it isn't the best choice. Personal development is the way you break through your money mindset. It is the way you grow your belief. It is the way you dream bigger. It is the way that you say, all right, what's next? Let's dream again. Personal development is the key for really creating a business that you love. And then you get to teach your team how to do it too. So one last go around. We've got just a few minutes left. Val, do you have anything you want to end with?
Yes, I'm actually going to add to what you were saying. Money, or not money mindset, but just self-development is also how you can overcome. And so business always goes up and down, right? Our businesses, they always do this. Our GV always does this. And sometimes our mind, if we haven't trained it correctly, when we start to hit the down spiral, maybe we're not quite growing, maybe things have slowed down just a little bit, because that's business. When we hit that, we take it as a sign that all of a sudden it's not working anymore. Like how Brielle said, she went Emerald, but nobody was working. So she was trying to take it as a sign that it's not working for me, then I need to quit too. And I want to tell you guys that it doesn't matter what rank you've been in, you will have moments where you hit the peak, and then you may have moments where you're trying to figure out what's happening, because that happened to me last year. I went presidential, and just as fast as I went presidential, I had a whole triple diamond leg just stop. They just stopped. They didn't do self-development. I was trying to tell them, did they listen? No, but they just stopped. Y'all, that was half of my GV. And I had one of the worst summers and falls and winters I've had in my business in a long time. I had some of the highest paychecks, and I had some of the lowest that I had seen in a hot minute. And I could have very easily have walked away. I very easily could have taken that as a sign that my time is done. I'm not going to find another runner. But I also had done enough self-development in the 4 years up until that point that I'd been in the business, that I also knew this is my challenge. This is my story. And I can either choose, you have two roads you can go down every single time. There's always two choices. You can go down the road of, this is not for me, this is a sign, I'm going to quit. Or you can go down the road and say, this is part of my story, but I'm going to get stronger. There are people that are still sticking around. I have a resilient team, and they stuck around, the ones that did. And I poured into them. I poured into myself. I was able to, because of, even though my business was not at the top peak, I was the strongest, and I still am. I'm not making the highest paychecks I've ever made. I'm not the highest paid as rank that I've ever been. But I'm the strongest mentally that I have ever been. And it's a part of my story. And my team calls me Pastor Val because I get so pumped up. Like my favorite book is the Bible. It's sitting right here. But because that's who I am. And I've become even bolder in my faith. I've become bolder on my page, and just influencing so many people with the business and then beyond the business. All because I had a humbling moment. And that humbling moment is just a challenge for you to be able to step up and up your game, where your mindset does not have to fluctuate with your business. Your mindset can stay up here, and you will get your business back up equal, or not, if not higher than your mindset, but you have to be resilient, and you have to be tough, and you have to be courageous and be willing to make that decision to stay outside of that comfort zone just a little bit and say, this is just part of my story. This is not the end of my story. This is just a part of my story. There are more people that need to hear the overcomer story on top of not just the success stories and boom, you're done once you hit that success story. You can be an overcomer too. And I just want to share that with everybody and be very vulnerable and open, because I know there are people out there who maybe are considering this isn't for me anymore, and take that lie out of the equation. It's a lie. It's the devil. He's trying to keep you down. There are people out there that you are supposed to influence. Go influence them. Go find them. Find your energy and go and change lives, and don't shrink back into that tiny little bubble, because you're bigger than that bubble. Stop making yourself fit into that tiny little box you used to be, because you are bigger than that.
Amen. Amen. Dig deep, do it again. Dig deep, do it again, and focus on who's there, not on who's not. All right, 1 minute to go. Brielle, do you have one last thought for us?
Yes. So honestly, guys, I just want you to remember that, like, we can tell you all these self-development books to read and whatnot, but unless you actually like retain it and put what you read into action, you're not going to see a change. Like, just, listening to an audible mindlessly while you're doing the dishes and you're not really listening, you're half listening, it's not going to change things. Self-development is the behind the scenes work to make you a successful leader, to make you successful in this business. I never met someone that made it to ambassador, presidential, all of our VIP ranks that hasn't done that behind the scenes work. And I can tell when my team is putting in that daily work, even though like they're not necessarily telling me whatever they're listening to or reading. I can tell from their enrollments and from, when they voice message me, the tone of their voice, from someone that's doing self-development to someone that's messaging me saying that they feel stuck. And right away, my answer is going to be, well, have you done any self-development lately? What are you reading right now? So if someone comes to you on your team, like, keep that in mind and remember that you should be doing that yourself too, because you're, like Denise said earlier, it's a ripple effect on your team. When you're putting in that work daily, you're doing that behind the scenes work, then your team's going to see that, and it's just going to change your business completely. So self-development is where it's at. Don't leave it out of your day. Even on your busiest days, you can still listen to self-development while you're in the shower, making dinner, wherever. Like, I'm sure you have some time where you're listening to something rather than the radio. Turn on a good podcast in the car, and it's going to change your business.
Amen. I mean, that's the reality, you guys. Personal development and focusing on my growth is what got me to Black Diamond in 8 years with the company. My favorite is The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. It's free. You can look it up on YouTube. And that is what I know helped me go from what do I want to really believing that I can get it. And so here's what I know. You have 3 successful It Works leaders telling you to add personal development, reading, listening, journaling into your day every single day. The question is, are you going to do it? Those of you who do, I know you're going to achieve the goals that you have set out for and impact so many people along the way. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Have an amazing day, and God bless.